I knew I shouldn't have gone back in for my jacket, but I did. And that's when she looked at me. Not like a mom, not like someone twice my age, but like a woman who didn't want to be alone tonight. It was just supposed to be a movie night. My best friend Evan had passed out on the couch before the credits even rolled, snoring into a throw pillow with an open bag of popcorn on his chest. I'd stood to leave, said polite goodbyes to his mom, and reached the front door before realizing I'd left my jacket on the back of the kitchen chair. I should have just let it go, but the night air had turned cold. She was there in the kitchen, back to me, rinsing a wine glass under soft yellow light. Her robe hung a little loose at the shoulder, revealing a tank top underneath. I told myself not to notice, but I did. You would have too. Forgot something, she said without turning, voice low, casual. Yeah, I said, reaching for the chair. Didn't mean to bother you. She looked over her shoulder. You didn't. Just that, but the way she said it, her eyes staying on me longer than they should have. It didn't feel like a regular Thursday night anymore. I'd known her for years. Mrs. Bennett. Always warm, always polite. A little distant, but kind. She made good coffee. She worked long hours. She always laughed too softly, like she didn't want to take up space. But tonight, there was something different in the air, like a silence waiting to be filled. You didn't watch the end, she said, turning off the tap. It was your pick. Evan fell asleep. And you? I hesitated. I saw what I needed to. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she smiled. Not wide, just the corner of her mouth lifting like a secret. That's a very diplomatic answer. I laughed quietly. I should go. She took a step closer, wiping her hands with a towel, eyes scanning me. Not like she was judging, more like she was remembering, or trying to decide something. You've grown up a lot, you know, she said softly. I didn't know how to answer that. My fingers found the edge of the chair, gripping it too tightly. I could hear the refrigerator humming behind us, the faint tick of the clock above the sink. Too many sounds in a room where no one was talking. She walked past me toward the hallway, and I thought that was it. The moment was over, my imagination playing tricks. But she stopped in the doorway, hand resting lightly on the frame. Then she looked back at me. It wasn't a smile this time. It was quieter. Sadder, maybe. Eyes a little shinier than before. Don't leave tonight, she said. The words weren't loud. She didn't beg or whisper. Just said them, like a fact. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. Then came the sound. Sharp, sudden. The doorbell. Echoing down the hallway. She didn't turn toward it. Neither did I. We just looked at each other. And the whole world held its breath. The doorbell didn't ring again. Whoever it was must have walked away. Maybe a package, maybe a neighbor. But we didn't check. We stood in the stillness, her eyes on mine like we were both caught in something we didn't plan and couldn't name. Then she turned. Just like that. Walked slowly to the living room, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just asked me to stay. I followed. Not because I had an answer. I didn't. But because some part of me already had. She sat on the arm of the couch, folding her arms over her chest like she needed to hold something in. I took the opposite end. Not close. Not far. There was that space again, the in-between where something might break if we moved the wrong way. Evan's dad, she said quietly, left when he was 10. I didn't expect to still be alone 15 years later, but here we are. I nodded, unsure what to say. She looked at me, softer now. You've always been kind. Polite. Different from most boys your age. I'm not a boy, I said, more sharply than I meant to. Her lips parted slightly, surprised. Not offended. I know, she said after a moment. That's part of the problem. The words sat heavy between us. Not accusatory, just honest. I glanced at Evan's jacket draped over the other chair, his video game controller half hidden under the coffee table. The reminder felt like a slap. This was his house. His mother. And yet, the way she looked at me, like I wasn't invisible for once, like I wasn't just someone people tolerated while waiting for someone better, it cracked something open I didn't know I'd sealed. Do you ever get tired of pretending you're fine? I asked, voice low. She exhaled slowly. Every day. I didn't tell her I knew that feeling. That lately, being around her was the only time I didn't feel like I was performing. I didn't say that even before tonight. I found excuses to come over more often. To see her in the kitchen, hair pulled back, humming something under her breath. To hear her say my name like it mattered. Instead, I just sat there, hands fidgeting with a fraying thread on my jeans. She noticed. I used to do that when I was nervous, she said. I'm not. I stopped. Lying would be pointless. She reached out, brushed her fingers across mine, just once. Barely a touch, but it felt like a fuse lit under my skin. Go home if you want, she said, or stay if you need to. She didn't look at me when she said it, like she didn't want to risk seeing the answer in my face. But her hand stayed right where mine was. Close. Waiting. Her hand was still near mine when we heard footsteps upstairs. Both of us froze. A door creaked. Then silence. Evan was awake, or half awake, probably heading to the bathroom. Maybe he'd come downstairs. Maybe he'd see me sitting too close to his mother. Maybe he'd see the way we weren't speaking, the way we were breathing too carefully. She pulled her hand back. I shifted away, fast, too fast. The space between us doubled, but the tension didn't ease. We waited, still listening. The toilet flushed. Water ran. A bedroom door closed. Then nothing. She stood, smoothing her robe like it gave her armor. You should go, she said, voice thin. Before this becomes something it shouldn't. Too late, I thought. But I stood too. My mouth open to say something. I wasn't even sure what, but she walked into the kitchen without waiting. I followed like gravity pulled me. She was rinsing a mug. Again with the water, the glass, the silence. A ritual to keep her hands busy. You didn't mean it, I said quietly. Before, when you asked me to stay. She didn't look up. I don't know what I meant. You look like you meant it. She set the mug down harder than necessary. I'm not doing this, she said, finally facing me. You're Evan's best friend. I've known you since you were 17. I'm 24, I said. You still come here to play video games and eat my food. I come here to see you. That landed hard. She blinked. Looked down. You don't mean that, she said, but it sounded more like a plea than a denial. I do. You can't. Her voice cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but it was there. I stepped forward. She stepped back. Her spine touched the fridge. Tell me to leave, I said. Mean it. Her hands clenched at her sides. And for a moment, one breath, one heartbeat, I thought she might kiss me. I saw it in her eyes, the conflict, the ache. She leaned forward an inch, then stopped. Her lips parted. My hand rose without thinking, hovered near her cheek. Then a voice. Mom. It came from the stairs. We jumped apart like we'd been caught stealing. She turned quickly, brushing her hair behind her ear. In here, she called, voice steady. Too steady. Evan appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Dude, you're still here? I forced a smile. Was just leaving. He yawned and padded toward the fridge. Cool. I'm starving. I backed toward the door. She didn't look at me. Not once. But as I slipped my shoes on and grabbed my jacket, I felt it. Her presence at the hallway entrance. I looked over, and there she was. Hands folded, eyes locked on mine, saying everything she couldn't with words. That look again. The one that said this wasn't over. I didn't go back to the house for a week. I told Evan I was busy. Finals. Work. Whatever excuse came first. He bought it, or pretended to, and I tried not to check my phone too often for a message that never came. But I couldn't stop replaying that night. Her voice, her eyes, her hand almost touching mine, and the part that haunted me most, that look as I walked out, like she was screaming behind her silence. I caved on a Thursday. I told myself it was to return the book I borrowed. It wasn't, but I knocked anyway. Evan wasn't home. She answered, and the look in her eyes when she saw me, it was relief, sharp and unhidden, followed by something harder. Regret, maybe, or fear. You shouldn't be here, she said. Yeah, I said. I know. She let me in anyway. We sat at the kitchen table, but it wasn't like before. Her arms stayed crossed. Her mug sat full and untouched. The distance between us felt wider now, like a line we both knew we'd crossed and weren't sure how to walk back from. I've been trying to forget it, she said suddenly. My heart thudded. Me too. A long pause. It's not just the age, she went on, voice low. Or Evan. It's me. I don't know how to want someone again without ruining it. I swallowed. You didn't ruin anything. She looked at me, not convinced. I get it, I added. I'm just some kid who caught you off guard. Her expression hardened. Don't do that. Do what? Make yourself small so it's easier for me to push you away. That hit harder than I expected. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the wood grain on the table like it could tell me what the hell to say. I'm not trying to make things harder for you, I muttered. Her voice was barely above a whisper. But you do. Silence. Then something shifted. She reached out, almost absent-mindedly, and touched my wrist. Just the edge of her fingers. Light. Barely there. I think about you more than I should, she said. My breath caught. I dream about you. Her voice cracked again, like she hadn't meant to say that part aloud. I stared at her trembling fingers, her guarded face. I want to be enough for you, I said, even if I don't know how. She stood suddenly, stepping back like the room had turned too small. Her hand went to her mouth. Her eyes shimmered but didn't fall. Then she turned, quickly, like she might vanish if she didn't move, and walked to the hallway. Wait, I said, standing. She stopped but didn't turn around. I shouldn't want this, she said. But you do. Silence. Then, one step. She turned halfway, met my eyes, and I stepped toward her, closing the distance. We were inches apart, both waiting for something to break. And then, her phone rang. Loud. Piercing. A name lit the screen between us. Evan. Her phone kept ringing. Neither of us moved. Evan. His name glowed on the screen between us like a warning. She finally answered. Her voice snapped into a version of herself I didn't recognize. Steady, warm, motherly. Hey, sweetheart. Yeah, I'm home. I took a step back, like I'd done something wrong just by being there. Like I wasn't supposed to exist in the same room she spoke to him from. She walked into the hallway as she talked, voice trailing off, casual, normal. The woman who just told me she dreamed of me vanished. She slipped back into her old skin like she never shed it. I stood alone in her kitchen. The silence left behind buzzed in my ears like static. She came back a few minutes later. Calm. Composed. Too composed. He's on his way, she said, like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't been standing inches apart, saying things we shouldn't have said. I should go, I said. But I didn't move. Not yet. She didn't stop me, didn't ask me to stay either. Then she said, he knows. My head snapped up. What? Not everything. But something. He said he overheard us. The night you stayed late. A chill crawled up my spine. He was half asleep, she continued. But he remembers hearing voices. Something about staying. I sank into the nearest chair. So what happens now? She shook her head slowly. He asked if anything's going on. I told him no. That stung more than it should have. You lied. I protected you. No, you protected yourself. Her expression flickered. Pain. Guilt. Something deeper. But she didn't deny it. I'm not ashamed of how I feel, I said, standing again. I know it's complicated. I know it's messy. But I'm not afraid to admit it's real. She looked at me, really looked. And I could see it all in her eyes. The war, the ache, the years of learning how to silence her own wants before they even formed. I'm not asking you to fight for me, I said. But I'm not going to pretend I was just another kid passing through your kitchen. Her lip trembled. She turned her face to the side like the eye contact was too much. And then she whispered, he said he won't come home if you're here. I blinked. What? She nodded, slowly. He gave me a choice. And there it was. The twist and the knife. I didn't ask for this, she said, her voice breaking. I never meant for it to go this far. You did, I said quietly. We both did. We stood like that, two people who had stepped too far to turn back, but didn't know how to move forward. A car pulled up outside. She flinched. You should go out the back, she said. But I didn't move. I just looked at her, waiting. For what? I wasn't sure. And in her eyes, I saw the truth. She didn't know who she was supposed to protect anymore. I stood by the back door, hand resting on the knob, the porch light spilling onto the dark grass outside. Inside, she was pacing, one arm crossed tightly over her chest, the other brushing hair behind her ear again and again. Nervous, torn, and I didn't blame her. The sound of Evan's car door slamming outside snapped us both upright. Voices now, of friends maybe, muffled through the front. "I can't let him hate me," she said suddenly. "You think he won't figure it out anyway?" I asked. "Eventually." She shook her head. "Not like this. Not with you." I walked back to the center of the kitchen, closer to her, close enough to see the panic in her face, and something else behind it. That familiar look, still fighting to surface. "I'm not asking you to throw your life away," I said. "But I also don't want to keep being the thing you reach for and hide in the same breath." Tears welled in her eyes. But she didn't let them fall. "I don't know how to choose," she whispered. "Yes, you do." She looked at me, and I knew she did. She stepped closer, one slow, trembling step. Her hand reached out, rested against my chest. Just rested there, like she wanted to feel my heartbeat, memorize it. "I don't want to be afraid of this," she said. "Then don't." Her fingers curled slightly into my shirt. I caught her wrist, not to pull away, just to anchor her there. "If you tell me to go," I said, "I'll leave. And I won't come back." She didn't speak, didn't breathe, but she leaned in. Her forehead touched mine. Just that. No kiss, no theatrics, just skin to skin and silence and truth. Then, footsteps on the porch. The front door opened. We froze. She didn't step away. I didn't either. Voices floated in from the living room. Evan's laughter, the sound of a bag hitting the floor. I pulled back just enough to look at her. "Right now," I said, "what do you want?" She hesitated. Her lips parted. A breath. No words. But her hand didn't let go. "I want to stop pretending," she said. I nodded once and stepped away. "I'll go," I said. "No, I'll go," I repeated. "But this time, I want you to decide if that's the last time." The back door creaked open behind me. Cold air brushed my face. She didn't stop me. But as I walked out into the night, I didn't feel rejected. I felt seen. Finally. And I knew, whatever happened next, she couldn't unknow this feeling either. She had a choice now. So did I. 2 weeks passed. I didn't text, didn't call. I didn't stop thinking about her, either, but I knew I had to let her choose this time without me standing there, making it harder. Evan messaged once, asking if I was mad at him. I told him no, that I was just figuring some things out. He said okay. We didn't talk about it again. Some nights I'd drive by the house, lights glowing behind closed curtains, wondering if she was alone in the kitchen, coffee cooling on the counter, her hand on the mug, but her mind somewhere else. Then one afternoon, I came home from class to find a small envelope tucked under my apartment door. No name, no return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside, just a note. For words, handwritten. "I stopped pretending today." That's all. But it said everything. I didn't need to ask what she meant. I could feel it in my chest, like warmth rushing in where cold had lived too long. I went to her that night, not with flowers or a speech, just myself. She opened the door before I knocked, like she'd been waiting. No words, no hesitation. She stepped aside to let me in. In the quiet of her living room, I noticed small things had changed. Evan's stuff was gone from the couch. His jacket no longer hung near the stairs, like she was beginning to make space for something new. Or maybe someone. "I told him," she said softly. "Not everything, but enough." And it wasn't easy. It's still not. But he'll be okay. She looked tired. Braver, too. "I'm not trying to play house with you," I said. "I don't have answers. I just know I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what this could have been." She stepped closer, took my hand. "I don't want simple," she whispered. "I just want real." I kissed her then. No hesitation. No more almosts. It wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. We stayed up late that night, not tangled in sheets, but sitting on the floor with tea and questions. sharing pieces of ourselves we'd never said out loud. She told me about the years she spent being who everyone needed her to be. I told her how I never quite felt like I belonged anywhere. Until her. It wasn't magic. It was human, flawed, messy, but it was ours. And sometimes, that's all love has to be. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback helps shape the next one.